Year, preseason no different. Lindy Waters for the win. He got it. His fifth three, a walk-off three, and a nice way to begin the preseason.
This is inexcusable, and the DiJonai Carrington needs to be suspended for game to DiJonai Carrington suspended for using steroids, and I'm not even shocked. I mean, should we really be surprised the queen of dirty play got caught red-handed? It's like she's been play your own twisted version of the game. How did she attack and still think your star? It was a cheap shot, it was not a baseball player, she should have been ejected. The WNBA should hand her a trophy. Oh wait, they already did, it's called suspension. Bravo to Johnny, you're finally getting the spotlight you so desperately crave, just not the kind that ends with applause. I mean, who would have thought that the same player who tried to gouge out Caitlin Clark's eyeball would stoop so low? This is just another chapter and carrots and sad little saga of doing whatever it takes to get ahead because apparently actual talent just isn't her thing. Out-exaggerated Caitlin Clark trying to pass the ball the first 2 minutes or the game, and this woman swats of the basketball and somehow decides to turn her hand down at her fingernails and jab them right into the eye of Caitlin Clark. This is a flat-out embarrassment for the entire league. Steroids really did any guess getting some muscles the on his way was just too hard on. There should have been a fine that was incurred thereafter. The WNBA should honestly be thanking her for making it so clear what not to do. You want to be taken seriously as a professional athlete, and can we talk about the timing? Carrington was getting hyped up. His some rising star, an up-and-coming talent, and women's basketball averaging 12.1 points per game and 5.3 rebounds. What, all those stats are officially garbage now. Every single point, every rebound, every so-called highlight is now under a cloud of doubt. Congratulations, Johnny, you successfully turn your entire career into a joke. And DiJonai is one of these people that has a real problem with Caitlin Clark, but let's not forget the real highlight of her career so far, that infamous I poblano Caitlin, for remember that course. That was the moment we all realize Carrington isn't just lacking in talent, she's lacking in sportsmanship, class, and apparently self-respect. Caitlin Clark was assaulted yesterday in her very first playoff game in the WNBA. Seriously, who the hell resorts to eye-poking into professional basketball game? Where she training with the Three Stooges or something? If you can outplay your opponent, just poke him on the eye, right? What's next? Kicking players in the shins when the refs aren't looking? Do you think that had any impact on the game? You think that your meal ticket should be stabbed in the eye intentionally on the court, and the impact it had on Caitlin Clark was no joke either. Carrington didn't just injure or physically, she tried to mess with her mentally. As if Clark needed more distractions while already carrying her team. I mean, how pathetic do you have to be to try and take out one of the best players in the league just because you can't keep up? Carr and the WNBA, yeah, obviously you gotta be pretty good in the eye. We struggled to get stops at times, but also the clock getting messed up. He was just one thing after the next, but overall it didn't bother me. And now finding out she's been using steroids all along. Oh, so that's how she thought she'd to keep up by juicing yourself up like a character from a bad superhero movie. But let's be honest, even with all the help from those illegal substances, she's still out here playing dirty. Talk about a total lack of confidence in your own abilities. Damn it, in the first 2 minutes is this game, this does your knees. Johnny's Carrington stabbed Caitlin Clark with her fingernails right eye. This steroid scandal is just the cherry on top of a long list of trashy behavior. The WNBA has been struggling to maintain its integrity, and then your players like DiJonai is bringing it all down. This isn't some random slip about, this is a pattern. This is the same player who can't even make it through game without getting into altercations. Teach you to your opponents and go. Guess what? Now we know why she was so eager to be physical on the court. All that aggression wasn't just her trying to make a name for herself, it was probably the roid rage talking. The reactions from fans and players have been brutal, and rightfully so. You've got people calling her out left and right for not just damaging her own reputation, but making a mockery out of the sport. You know what's worse than be known as a dirty player? Be known as a dirty player and a cheater. It's important that we point this out. One of the things that I brought up this morning and talking about Caitlin Clark is that some of the players, you want to use the word jealousy find, you want to use the word envy fine. And now every single person who's ever praised her has to eat their words. DiJonai Carrington went from being a potential role model to in the poster child for what happens when desperation and stupidity collide. And really the whole physicality thing, let's be real, she wasn't just physical, she was a walking hazard on court, eye-poking, shoving, arguing with refs like she's auditioning for WWE SmackDown instead of playing professional basketball. This girl's highlight reel looks more like UFC Fight Night. Just look at that May 15th game against the Dallas Wings. DiJonai decided to leave sportsmanship in the locker room and went full throttle with an unnecessary shove. Let's you forgot she was playing basketball, but she was gone for football tackle. Mocking Caitlin Clark on the court, played a very physical game with her back then too, and looked as Caitlin Clark do some his draw, some floppy, and perhaps I'm giving them this out on what happened yesterday. And what's next? DiJonai tackling the refs if they make a call against you, because honestly that wouldn't surprise me one bit. And don't even get me started on our spectacular fouls that averaging $3.5 per game when the league average is 2.1. Oh, she's not just crossing the line, she's pole vaulting over and planning a flag there. What a role model, right? Forget about actually playing basketball, Jaya teaching young athletes how to rack up penalties faster than points. That's a real talent. Showing the world how not to play. It's not even aggression at this point, is desperation with the side of I wish I were actually good, but hey, let's add steroids to the mix and suddenly it all makes sense. You know how they say roids make people more aggressive. Well, Carrington must have been guzzling them like protein shakes, or entire game revolves around charging at people like a bull on steroids, or wait, turns out she actually might have been one, and all that muscle she's packed on. Jana has a history with Caitlin Clark, done many of these girls, and the WNBA, but she's at the top of the list. Yeah, hard work, right? Or maybe just a quick injection in the locker room before game. Who needs practice when you can juice yourself up and pretend it's dedication? And here's the funniest part, her performance has been all over the place. On night, she's scoring 20 points, and the next, she can barely hit 8. That's not just inconsistency, that's called my secret use ran out now. Trash again. Seriously, Digita, if you're going to cheat, at least be good at it. Even your staring use are sloppy. It's almost like she thought she was invincible and nobody would ever noticed, but now she's caught, and instead of the crowd cheering for a big plays, they're booing her off the stage. Or is that for karma? Body contact, sometimes these guys are coming off screens, and movements where they're just getting bodied a lot. I thought that was happening early. I thought a B was getting, some not getting some calls download that she probably should have. Oh, but let's not forget how she tried to justify her aggression. Oh, I'm just playing with passion, girl, please. Passion is blocking a shot or sinking a 3 under pressure. What you've been doing is throwing temper tantrums on the court and play more like a street thug, being a professional athlete, and now steroids. Talk about scraping the bottom of the barrel. If you needed she just to play your dirty little game, then you've got zero business being in this league. It's like she's been playing Monopoly with loaded dice and still manages to land in jail. Post the kind of stuff that's happening and has been happening over the last few months is because of Caitlin Clark. I got some of the stats in front of me to validate it, because you see, I bring receipts, and I'll get to why I'm really pissed off in a few minutes. But here's where it gets. So here we are, degenerate and Carrington from rising star to suspended cheater in record time. She's not just a disgrace to the leash as a warning sign. Want to know what not to do if you want to be respected in sports? Watch her highlights. It's a masterclass in how to ruin your own career. Instead of focusing on being better, she focuses on being bigger. And now she's gone down harder than any player I've seen. What you pointed out, and I think this is real, and it's a real difference between men and women at our court. The women will be very jealous, and that I think is going to be a monster problem. I hope they get over it for the wedding. Guys like to win even if they're not the Star War great, and the best part. Now she's sidelined, sitting on the bench, wonder where it all went wrong. Or DiJonai, here's a hint, it started when you decided to throw integrity out the window. Now with this suspension, you're not just benched, you're raised. Your name will be synonymous with steroid scandals and cheap shots, not talent or skill. So congrats, DiJonai, he finally made history, just not the kind anyone wants to remember. So good riddance, Dijon. I enjoy sitting on the sidelines where you belong. Maybe you'll finally get the time to reflect on how bad choices, bad sportsmanship, and cheating your way through the game have completely tanked what little respect you had left. Here's hoping the WNBA uses this as an example to show what happens when you try to take shortcuts, because no matter how many steroids you pump in your system, you can't fake real talent, and you sure as hell can't hide from the consequences would you get caught.